and welcome again, everyone. So, 3 months later already, crazy. How time flies. Like, I hope you guys actually made more progress than I have. Which there is progress even on co-starting, but it is certainly going slower than when I was really starting with steam in the beginning of the year. So I can't wait to hear everyone's update. How is everyone's week so far? Let's start with just general before we dive right into the work.
It's been a good week, man.
Yeah.
Likewise. Very productive so far.
Awesome. I was thinking of you today, Ray, because we're moving soon into an area where there is a ski valley 45 minutes away. And I looked at the season pass and I was thinking if I might be able to do skiing or snowboarding every day like you did last season. I doubt I will, but it will be nice to be much closer to snow again.
That sounds amazing. Can you both ski and snowboard?
I can't ski. I can snowboard a little bit, but
you will do after having the season pass.
Yeah, maybe. I need the equipment. Awesome. So we don't have any structure again for this, check-in. So I think we'll just do what we're used to from before and just go round robin and see where everyone is at with the business and go through questions and feedback and what have you. Sound good? Cool.
Yeah.
Who wants to start? No preferences.
I'll go.
All right.
Yeah, so let's see. In the last 60 days, what has happened? Well, let's see. In 60 days ago, I just changed the name from phone to email to Shield number, which redescribed what the whole product was. In the intervening time, also introduced an extension so that becomes the main way people are using it. So instead of being something that's primarily web app based, they sign in through the web app, they get the extension, and then they're able to go and deploy their phone number wherever they want to with just right-clicking on whatever that field is and be able to go get it across. I've actually found this to be a pretty good extension model. And one of the more recent innovations working on is distributing it for Safari for the Mac, because that is the most popular browser on the Mac. And it is also the one that has the least competition for extensions because it's much harder to basically package an extension and put it through the App Store. And as a result, you have maybe a couple hundred extensions you're competing with as opposed to the tens of thousands of whatevers that are all out there. Near as I can tell, it's actually not all that more rigorous an inspection process as you have in these other environments. So it seems like there's a bit of strength against weakness opportunity for that. From a marketing point of view, once it changed it to Shield number, seemed to have the message relatively nailed down. And I switched it to phase 2, which was doing paid acquisition, mostly through Microsoft, where I'm finding that my CPC is lower than it is on the Google side. Takes a little bit more engineering to make all that link up. But once I did that, I was getting signups at a rate of about one to two per week. So on average, 1.5 a week, in return for about $60 of advertising spend, which means that the time to payback is around 10 months at this point. This is not long-term sustainable, but it is driving me closer to what is the message that actually resonates for phase 3, where that's sort of anticipated for the fall, particularly once I've got these extension bits lined up for being able to be able to serve more of the audience better by being able to tackle the both Safari on the Mac side and also Microsoft Edge, which is the built-in and pretty popular browser on the PC side. I've also learned to stop working on it. The thing works. The simpler it is, the better it is. The more broadly applicable it is, the better. So what I'm finding is I go into a community, I say, hey, here's the thing I'm working on. They go check it out. I get some signups for it. Great. I move on to the next community. The organic acquisition, the organic acquisition is there. It's a little tepid, but it's there. And the fact that it's not as usable for the broader audience is part of the problem. So that's the thing that I'm working on solving. On the other front, you were talking about like the ski slope thing. One of the things I've been working on in the course of the summer has been securing buying for my first piece of property ever, which is a condo on the same ski mountain that I was on last winter. And so that's awesome. Our new primary home is going to be actually living on a ski mountain, and that should start this coming fall.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's why you need to stop working on it, because it's just going to be on the slopes all the time from now on, right?
Yeah, so not working on that, but I am working on like my other investments, a couple of other product businesses, an advisory business. But one of the things about building a SaaS is that it's passive income, right? It's not passive income if you're working on it all the time. So letting it go, do its thing, and then circle back to it, like I say, in a couple of months after I've got these other two pieces together to be able to do next phase on it, next phase on it. It's like, just consistency rather than super intensity as being the model for it. Anyway, that's my update.
Very nice. Very nice. Lots of stuff done. You guys have any questions for Ray? He's pretty thorough in giving updates. So.
I want to hear from Connor.
It's great to see the progress. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just like to say something. If I'm not responding, it's because there's a really big lag in. Catherine, you managed to say your whole thing before I heard the audio. And then other times it's the other way around, which is weird. But no, that's really good. It's really fascinating. You're going to get a lot of data out the advertising, and once you nail that message, it's going to be a lot clearer. So, yeah, getting that path to reducing that cost of acquisition. If you crack that, I think you're onto a good, like you say, a good passive income there, where you can spend more time on the slopes.
Cool, thank you. You remind me I need to look at my analytics.
There is a lag, actually. Weird. StreamYard was pretty good on this so far, but that is an interesting topic. Actually, I would be curious if you already have enough data to maybe make virtual coffee around that, like that paid acquisition kind of topic. I think would be very interesting. If you're interested, Ray, to be kind of the showcase or the guinea pig a little bit for that. There's no date right now, but I think it would be in about 2 weeks or so. Might be too early, maybe the next one.
I think I'm probably a bit early to be able to answer that with intelligence and have comparative data. I think in a couple of months, I'll have more platforms coming to bear. I'm bringing Reddit to bear next before I bring Google to bear. Google seems like it's easiest to set up. It's also just, it's a much more expensive CPC.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I think that's like probably where most people's head just goes to, right? Because that's what we always talk about. It's what people know now, but it's a good reminder that that's not, you don't have to start there, right? Maybe you're never going to be there. Who knows? Cool, awesome. Yeah, that would be a great topic. Actually, I need to put that in the backlog. Sweet. Who wants to go next? You can rock paper scissor it if you have to.
Should I go, Martin? I'm gonna give it a second to see if we say the same thing at the same time. All right, perfect. Yeah, with Harmony. So I'm not exactly sure where we left it off last time, but yeah, we did this whole UI UX redesign, and I think when we had the actual cohort, I was also testing out whether we could focus down on like a specific vertical so that Harmony is not such a horizontal tool. But we actually figured out from doing a lot of customer discovery that that's actually not the right approach for us. And Harmony is a horizontal tool. And for us, the focus was to identify or to look back at what the software development process is like right now. And it's usually someone designs something or someone has an idea that someone designs something, then gives it to the developers that implement it, and then it's put live. So we looked at this process and we're like, okay, actually, if the designers are able to design something in our tool, and you do not have to implement it again. You just put it live. There's so much time that's being saved. It makes a lot of sense. So I've really focused on designers, and the last couple of weeks I've just been reaching out to them. And it's actually really interesting because I just get so much more feedback and so much more response to my questions or my outreach. So it feels much more right than what it did before when I was reaching out to insurances or whatever. They just didn't really care. And I could feel that like everything was effort to get any response. It was always so much effort. And now with designers, people are actually very proactive in trying to learn more about Harmony, and they want to tell me about their problems with the current tools. And when I tell them about what we do, they want to try it. And so that's very positive so far. I also don't have too much comparative data yet. I did a lot of outreach on LinkedIn where I wrote people there that worked quite well. And I have now also started to write people on Twitter because that's actually very active for designers as well. I've been thinking also to try Reddit soon because I know that was, at least with no-code community, that was relatively active. But I'm testing out the channels to see where I really get feedback. I found with stuff like LinkedIn groups or so, it didn't, like, people rarely reply. It's like they're so spammed, most of these groups, that nobody really looks, I think, because none of the other posts in any of these groups really get responses or likes or anything. So maybe I just haven't found the right ones yet, but we'll see. I'm testing. And yeah, I mean, in the last week, we had like several days with like 13 active users building stuff in Harmony for several days. So I was very happy. And we have a few like fan users who start running around telling people like, why would anyone build in any other tool? Like, why would anyone not use Harmony? That's stupid. So I'm like really happy to hear that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so much for me. Yeah.
Catherine, are you at all involved in the MakerPad community or No Code Founders?
Yeah, I'm in the No Code Founders Slack channel as well. Slacks are something that we also have to reach out next or soon. And MakerPad, not really so much. Are you? Do you know what that is like?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm part of their. I participate in their build club, which is a Zoom meetup that a few of them do every week. Which is sort of giving me a lowdown of like what more of the more cutting edge people in no code are doing, and I found that to be pretty helpful. And I'm sort of thinking about it a couple different ways. The first is that these communities are more designer heavy, right? Because they're people who are looking to not have to go build the tech themselves, and so you're right there. And they, so far, to my observation, have been relatively vendor friendly, particularly vendors who are positioning themselves more as cutting edge as opposed to funded and have a whole bunch of customers already and whatever. But the other thing that, as you were talking about your people and how excited they were about it, I'm wondering if you should go hunting for them, right? Stalk them on these other platforms, because if for example, they're on NCF, or you find out, oh, wait, they're involved in the MakerPad community, you can just be DMing them on that saying, hey, I just found this thing too. And basically just trying to incite them to be saying those nice words in those platforms where they're more likely to do it because they'll know that you're able to see it and they're not just shouting into the dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm definitely trying to find the right platforms right now. And also, I'm totally stalking people already. I am totally narrowing in who looks like they could be a good customer, and let's write them. Let's write them again.
I actually meant stalk your existing customers.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I'm closely in touch with them, anyways. Yeah. So with one of them, we actually did like they were one of our pilots as well, and one of the founders there has a kid, and that kid wanted to really build something in Harmony. So we had like a session with the kid and like did a lot of pictures, and the kid managed. The kid did it. They built a login screen. So I was very proud of that.
That is your perfect content marketing strategy right there. Like, I watched an analysis of what is Mark Roberts' YouTube videos. Do you guys all know him? like all over the top, like super popular YouTuber, right? I think arguably one of the most popular ones or successful ones right now. And someone did an analysis on what his recipe is, right? And that was one of them, right? There's something wowing, and then there's the why, which we have talked about multiple times. And his why is like, he connects with these kids who have leukemia or something, and makes them a part of the video, right? Not to compare that one to one, right? But like that, I mean, that would be so cool to see, like, I don't know, that's 8-year-old or something make something in Harmony, right? Like that'd be super cool. I love that.
Yeah, we just posted some pictures of it, and one of them who filmed it is gonna cut together a video for us as well. So that's really good. Yeah, I think the only thing that's next for me is from starting from September, I'll be in the US. So I'll be also fundraising, and I mean, I probably said at some point like half my family is in New York anyways, so it's not like a big step. I've been there several times and worked there too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Fundraising, gonna be fun.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you're closer to Ray than you are to me, but if you have time, so I'm sure that you're doing the roadshow for the investors mostly, but if you get anywhere close to New Mexico or Florida, let me know, depending on where I am at that point.
Awesome, I will do. Martin?
Okay, yeah. So actually, I just wanted to have one question for you, Catherine. When you're targeting designers, does that, in my mind, I'm trying to think of like the designer community and the sort of no code. Does that put you in the same sphere as, say, Webflow, where you can essentially build and publish straight from the browser, essentially? Is that how you see yourself now?
Yeah, I think it's very similar. I think the big difference is that Webflow really does websites and we do apps, web applications. But I think the target user is very similar because we basically thought the alternative, if we really want to be usable for like a manager who never watched, like who doesn't know Photoshop, who doesn't know Figma, who doesn't use any of these tools, then it would have to be so simple and it would really have to use big components that ultimately mean we can't be custom. Like you can't really customize it in detail because, it's like complexity versus ease to use. And I think there are better tools already out there, like Adalo or so. It's really good if you want to have these big components with their limitations. But I think we are more like on the Webflow level, but for applications.
That's cool. That's cool. The only reason I say that is because whether there's something in their communication, audience, and marketing that you can sort of get inspiration from and see how they, basically reverse engineer a bit of how they communicate and try out. Let them do the hard work and market the idea, and you come in with the product.
Yeah, thanks.
So yeah, from Flowtelic, I still feel like I haven't made an awful lot of progress with the product because I'm sort of really deep in this paid for feature to do the synchronization of your notes, and combining that with kind of my free time and all of that has been a bit of a challenge. But I'm making progress, just chipping away at it and continue moving forward. So I now understand how to integrate Stripe, and I now understand how to use their tax. Ironically, when I started doing this, they hadn't launched it, but now they have their tax service. So in theory, invoicing and EU VAT and all of that, I don't have to worry so much about. Just have to capture the right information. So yeah, I'm kind of plugging away at that. And then really the other progress is on the YouTube front, which is all part of the marketing strategy. So in the last couple of weeks, I reached the 1,000 subscriber milestone, which I've been wanting for many years, which is great. you get a nice little animated GIF in an email from YouTube saying congrats, which is really cool. And coincidentally, very soon after that, because that's one of the milestones for monetization of your YouTube channel. The other is 4,000 watch time hours within the last year. And about a week later, I got that milestone as well. I was so close to it. And then it finally tipped over, went through, set up all the monetization, the AdSense account and all of that. And now I'm about 8 days in, seeing how much money I could make from the whole YouTube. So, and it's actually really surprised me, considering it's a small channel with a few videos on note taking and all of that. And I'm probably averaging about $2, $3 a day. So you add it up, and it's about, I reckon it might come in at about 60, 70, maybe $80, depending. So that actually outperforms what I should be getting, I think, for reasons. Maybe it's the demographic, the US audience. I don't really know what else, but the what they call it, the CPM, the cost per, is it mil? That's quite high for my channel compared to, say, other people. So yeah, that's been really exciting, seeing that milestone. And it's the funny thing is, I'm making videos on YouTube about note-taking competitor products. I'm now making money from those videos, albeit small, but I can now see that grow. But I'm also using those videos as the opportunity to build my mailing list for the app, the wait list for the app, which I'm now about 600 people on that list, which is pretty good. If I'm, I'll soon be having to pay for the ConvertKit subscription, because I'll have gone past that threshold, which will be a good milestone, I guess. Nice problem to have, right? And so I'm now making money from YouTube to advertise my own product, which is amazing. So that's how I'm looking at it. But yeah, I wish I was further along with the product. I've got big ideas where I want to take the product. It's just that balance, when you're working full time, do YouTube as well. It's a conscious effort, and I'm always debating, should I stop the YouTube and just focus more on product development? But it's the two are, work together. So I'll have a nice mailing list when I do launch properly with monetization, which is better than having nobody. So I don't know, maybe it's a win-win in the long term. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Very cool. Congrats. Do you know what does YouTube tell you kind of how they categorize you, or because I know there is a difference, right? If you're mainly making financial videos, for example, financial advice, like anything in that category gets usually pretty high ad revenue. Do you know where you fall there?
They don't tell you specifically what advertisers you fall under. The only thing I've got really to go by is sort of the high level kind of channel categorization. So I come under education. I'm educating about note taking and all those kind of things, which would be different to like entertainment or whatever other kind of categories there are. So that may have an impact, but I think really it's down to maybe the performance of the viewers who watch ads, because it's all personalized ads as well at the same time. But you get the personalization by watching certain types of videos. So like as you said, the insurance, you watch insurance videos, you start getting, or finance ads, you start getting ads on that which are quite high paying ads, because it's a very lucrative kind of market. So I suspect I'm probably targeting channels which naturally have some kind of premium in terms of the advertisers. I'm in the productivity note-taking space. So when I look in YouTube, I can see the other channels that my viewers watch, and I know those channels. I also watch them, which is probably expected. And I know that some of those would then get good sponsors, good advertising based on the products that they promote, especially in like tech, productivity. So I'm kind of guessing it's probably a bit of that rather than being something completely niche that doesn't have any kind of categorization as to what kind of advertisers fit it. So yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, but it was a nice surprise seeing those figures, because I thought it'd be like pennies, per day rather than dollars per day, which is quite nice.
So, Martin, just to say what seems kind of obvious, you have a moneymaker making videos about all these note taking systems. You're making money kind of the least money making way possible, which is just through programmatic ads on YouTube. The next level up is, of course, affiliate or doing deals with people who have a stake in your particular field, which of course would be the people who are putatively the potential competitors for Flotelic. And yet what you have right now is a product that you're having a hard time finding the time to work on. And you're a really smart guy and a very thoughtful guy. If you're spending more time working on the content, it's a subconscious signal that there's a lot of value in the content, and also a lot of value in your reputation, right, of being the smart guy in this field, kind of regardless of how you monetize it, right? And the fact that you've been doing the work on Flotelic that you've been doing is part of what makes you as smart about it as you are, right? It is already giving to you in a way that can create wealth and income. But the more I think about this, the more I sort of watch what you're doing, it seems like there's like there's the Martin way, right, of doing notes, and you're talking about how to get more out of these various systems, and there's a whole story around that is valuable both from a content point of view and probably an advisory point of view. Might also link to tools. Maybe those tools are the ones that you're writing right now. Maybe those tools are the ones that you're discovering are able to bring more to market. But and I appreciate this wasn't like maybe the original goal, but you've also got a list of people who believe not in Flotelic because that's not most of what they've seen. Most of what they've seen is you, right? You have 600 true fans, my friend. You're well on your way to the 1,000. And if you do that, that is that level of engagement and at that scale is full-time employment cash flow worthy. So I think you have an asset that right now you're treating as like ancillary, right, to your main goal. But that in fact, if you were to say, instead of fighting with it, right, to be doing both product development and content, you put the two together, and instead you have Martin development, right? And it's your brand that's the asset. And then you open up the optionality in terms of ways that you can use that to increase cash and wealth. But that in the course of, say, the next 60 days, if you're focused on Martin development as opposed to Flotelic development, you create an asset that, regardless of which way you're going to use it, becomes a lot more valuable than if you're just doing either of them half-time.
Yeah, I think I follow. I follow what you're saying. I'm trying to think of the tangible actions of the meaning of what you're saying, which, because it's quite like building the Martin brand is. I understand it conceptually. It's like how does it form? What do I do with the mailing list to capitalize on that? But
You stop working on Flotelic.
And go full in on the content and branding.
I think so. Because once you're no longer trying to do, let's just pretend that Flotelic caught on fire, right? And it wasn't even an option. I mean, it's part of what got you here, so that's not really a reasonable thing. But let's just play with that for a second. What would be the way that you could monetize the reputation that you have now? You could have a newsletter, right? You have a newsletter that's like linking to your videos, right? It's half written for you already. You could have a newsletter that has sponsorships to it, right? You could be doing sponsorships or affiliate revenue through the YouTube channel. You could offer consulting, either on the sort of micro consulting, schedule me through Calendly basis, or bigger engagements based on what you're doing from the videos and or the newsletter. these are all ways of like building up Martin Inc. both that both improve reputation and at the same time drive your monetization of it. Because if you have a newsletter, you'll get more audience with your 600 current true fans. You'll get more people because they'll distribute the newsletter. You'll get access to it to a mode of virality that you don't currently have. You will immediately get paid, right? Because you can get sponsors. Those sponsors will increase your credibility. At least at the initial level, to be able to then bring all that back around, right? You'll be able to go talk to Obsidian or Rome or whoever else, all of whom you might think these are not ideal or as ideal as what you want to do from Flotelic, but they still move people forward, right? As well as like plugins, what have you, people who might not be getting as much airtime that you already know about. You think these people are awesome, and now you can be getting paid for that. And these things then drive both cash and reputation to create a virtuous cycle. But the point I was getting at though was as long as you have these two things are fighting for attention, I think you'll find you'll get more than 2x results if you're trying to just walk rather than walk and chew gum, because doing them both together is a great way to choke.
I can remember that one. That's a good analogy. Yeah, that's wasn't expecting this direction of input. It's good. It's good because you're absolutely right. The YouTube it was sort of consequential to, yes, I've always wanted to do something with YouTube, but it was a way to share what I was doing with Flotelic, and it sort of started helping me go deeper into this way of note taking, and now I'm getting a bit of feedback from there through the subscribers, the mailing list. Now a monetary kind of signal, so I know which content is of value in terms of views, watch time, and money as advertisers. So getting sponsors on the channel like that is a dream for me. I want Audible to sponsor my channel at some point. That is a life goal because it's been so monumental in kind of my own life as a product. It's one that I absolutely love. So, oh damn it, I just advertised them on this stream and they didn't pay me for it. So yeah, like I don't know anything about sponsorship at this stage, especially from a mailing list point of view, from a YouTube point of view. But it's interesting. It's certainly giving, when you realize that you're probably more ready than you realize. I think that's quite a nice place to be in. Downside with what you've proposed is money aside, fame aside, there's this thing inside me that wants the product to come out. So that may trump any logical decision in what I do, because yeah, like there's not a day that goes by where I don't visualize the product I want to build, and that means something to me. So I have to be very careful that that I do what's in my why at the same time, and not take a short-term decision for some kind of monetary goal specifically, but there's the reputation, there's the growth there, which, as you quite rightly point out, could have way more value in the bigger picture. So I've got some things to weigh up. It's quite interesting.
The one final thought I'll just toss in here is the idea of sequencing. You don't need to do everything today. And in fact, there's a sequence of events that drives more value than the other. So the sequence of your of building brand today and building audience today, right, will generate compounded value when you have the product available. So if you just sort of accept the notion that you're not going to have the product until, I'm just making things up here, until the end of the year, right? Like, hey, maybe if you sort of went in on a whole hog, you could have it done by October, but if you don't, you're probably looking more at December or January. If you're willing to take that hit chronologically, your ability to have Flotelic be successful in its early days would be much higher because your brand level would be up here instead of at here, which either way is going to be higher than where it is today.
Yeah.
But but I think by first saying walk and then chewing gum, you get the results of both. without the risk that we just alluded to.
Yeah.
Have you
Your advice is
have you also actually considered? I'm not sure if that's right for your tool, but something like crowdfunding for Flotelic as well, so that you have more resources to develop it. Because especially if you already build a community that is exactly interested in that topic, you have the correct audience to advertise, like a fundraiser, Kickstarter, whatever, too. So that might be an option to give you more resources.
Pre-sale, yeah.
Yeah, there's two conflicting things, and one of those is my own mindset around it, I guess. One would be if someone gave me 100 grand today, what would I do with it? I'd probably what I do in my day job is quite important in its own right. So at this stage, there's no kind of I'm not prepared to move on that one. So then that leads to hiring and outsourcing, and I think I'm not ready to do that because the product is in such an infancy in terms of trial and error that the subtlety of getting it right is what I think is going to make the product work, and that's it's a bit selfish. Make no mistake what I'm saying. I want to be the one who really understands the subtlety of why this product will work versus not. In a sense, one of the big main key points of it is that it actually does help me create content, note taking consistently, and it's easy to outsource what you think that is that's going to make it. Go through the effort of building it, and you don't know till the end, only to find out that it just doesn't work. And moving from there, because in my experience of getting other developers on a project, you take that piece of work and you give it to someone else and they do it to your specification. If they're not, you've got another issue, right? But actually what you need in a product that is in a way not done before, let's say, you need someone who can spot the nuance when it starts not going right. I may be talking complete nonsense. That's why I think it's quite selfish what I'm saying, because it's my own view on that. So I don't know. I mean, that's just my take on it. I'm not ready to let go. I'm being greedy here in terms of I've got this vision of a product. I want to be the one who builds it, and I also want to learn the skills to market it and actually prove it in a way that is maybe sort of bucking the trend a bit. So I wouldn't know what to do with a cash injection, for example, to make the best use of that. And Ray, I think what you say, sequencing, is probably the absolute right choice, because I need to keep my mind clear as to if I'm doing content and building value there, which I've proven has value. I need to really give that its all, and then when I make that conscious decision to execute the other part of the plan, which is to build a product for my own reasons, I have to go sort of all in. And I think at the moment I'm sort of treading between the two, and that's where it's slowing down, I think.
So, I mean, you could still combine those two a little bit, right? You sequence for 2 months to prepare to, if you still want to stay kind of from a public perspective, consistent, right? Like you're updating kind of on the app, but you're also making new content, whatever your rhythm is. If it's a video a week, like then just bang out a couple now, which is probably also dangerous, because I think we talked about this last time in this video content marketing strategy session, that it only works well if it's fun, right? You touched on that. That's your why. Your why is actually the, like you're a maker at heart, right? Which, if that's why you do any of this around your topic right now, I think that makes sense. I love that you touched on too, like, and are really honest to yourself about, maybe I'm not currently at least doing this to go full time on this venture as soon as possible, right? Like your why is a different one. I think that's oftentimes we actually have this conversation in one of the peer groups a lot where some people are not necessarily trying to build a big business, right? And I think that's also okay. Where it's tricky, and you have this, right? Like you know this for yourself. I think it's tricky to say that out loud or even realize it in the beginning sometimes is like, am I doing this as just a hobby because I enjoy it? And maybe I do want it to be a little bit more because I want the accountability which comes from customers and what have you. Or am I trying to build a business, if that be that a lifestyle or a venture capital business or whatever it be, to make that, my central focal point from a income perspective, right? I think those are completely different topics which need to be considered from one's personal decision. Lost one. So that's interesting to me. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I think that we don't quite talk enough about all of the aspects of entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I love making things, obviously, we'll be doing this, but I also love the skills around entrepreneurship, and there's this element, like I guess the organic growth, the bootstrapping growth. I'm actually looking forward to being able to tell that story. That means a lot to me to show that now, and I'm getting elements of it with the YouTube because it's easily measurable there. But yeah, it is my, my product is my garden. I just love puttering around and attending to it. It's a case of keeping that right balance where you feel like you have the time and the bandwidth to do it. When you do it, you enjoy it, and you do it to high capability. And the entrepreneurship skills I want to get some growth out of it, whether that's monetary growth, which is a good measure, and also obviously gives more opportunity, and viewership growth, subscribers and mailing lists and things like that. I think those are I enjoy it. This is my hobby. So while I may sit here saying that it's challenging, it's a good challenge. I've got nothing on the line that I can. Maybe that's part of the problem. I've got nothing on the line that I can lose by doing it wrong, I guess. The challenge is to keep focused with these dynamics and figure it out. So I don't know all the answers, but I will do at some point. I know what won't work.
Yeah, I think, like I used to say this a lot. So I like vintage cars. It's a hobby. I like buying vintage cars, restoring them, selling them. Nothing crazy, nothing show car style. But like sometimes friends ask me, it's like, why don't you do that like as a job, right? It's like, well, then it stops being fun. Because if I have to do it, if I have to go wrench on a car every day, I'm gonna hate it very quickly. And this is not a perfect comparison here, right? But maybe that's part of it sometimes. Not every idea, not everything we're working on has that potential for everyone to be that we want to do every day, right? Actually, as a matter of fact, I struggle with that with almost anything I do because it's always fun in the beginning, and then I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I understand this now. Like, next.
Sven, I think you really touched on something that's really important at this level of entrepreneurship, right? The difference between a hobby, a business, and also a job, right? Like you're looking for something that can pay the bills. You want to be able to do this full time. Maybe you do want, but then you want to do this full time, right? I think that's the person who's looking for a job. And I've met a bunch of people trying to do that. There are people for whom this is a hobby. They care about their creation, right? This is their art. They're bringing something into the world. And that is sort of overwhelms, other more banal, right? Quotidian, economic considerations. And then there are people who are looking to build a business, right? They're looking for how do they allocate their capital. And Martin, I think what you've got going on right now is definitely sort of the question of what that is. It seems clear you have a full-time job that has a lot of meaning for you. You're not looking for a job. But you have this split, right? You have something that is very clearly on the path to being a viable business, and that is a content info product play. And then you have something that is your art, and that is Flotelic, which is maybe it's a product that will sell. There's really not much validation of that because there's a lot of validation of Martin, not a lot of validation of Flotelic. And to the extent that Flotelic becomes a product people willing to pay for, it's because those people will pay for what's coming from Martin, and they would just easily pay for something else that would have required less work from you. And I think you said something I wrote down. My product is my garden. Right. And a garden is there to serve you.
There's a blog.
Okay. I'd love to know what that was from. But like the idea that is because a garden is there to serve you, right? To make you feel better. A business you are a servant of, right? It is an economic entity to which you have a fiduciary responsibility to your employees, to your investors, whatever, which by the way, might be yourself and your family through the other end of it, but to make alive and to make work. And similarly, a job creates that kind of responsibility. But the garden is like Sven's cars, right? It's there to make you feel better, Sven. And if it makes you a little bit of money, that's nice. But the job of it is not that primary, either to generate wealth or to generate income. It's to generate meaning. Yeah, so think about that.
Yes, very true. Is that better, Ray, from my mic? I don't know if it changed. I changed the microphone settings, but yeah, I think those are very important topics. That's yet another one I would like to maybe structure a virtual coffee around, because I think it's hard, right? Like, and it's especially hard if you've never started a company before, and even more so if you've never taken the jump. Maybe you have done something, maybe that made some money, right? Like there's something in between, maybe the hobby and like a full-on startup which you're running, which is sustaining your life and maybe others, where there's just kind of side hustles, right? Like, let's call them that. And maybe that's still okay. Maybe you got into that stage. But then how do you go, if you want to, which that's part of our conversation right now, but if you want to then go one step further and really go all in, how do you do that? And how do you assess if that's right for you, right? Because I think that is probably the most dangerous part. It's not even the doing it, the execution, that's hard enough. But knowing if that's what you should be doing for your personality, for your lifestyle, for whatever your external factors might be, is extremely difficult. And I've seen it multiple times in, just even my network, my friends. People think they want to be entrepreneurs. They really don't. Like, it's sexy, right? It's so as sexy as it's never been before, probably. It's, well, passive income, right? We throw around all of these words, which overnight successes, right? Like, you basically don't have to work. You're going to make a living. But it's, of course, we know it's not like that. You're all laughing. But if you've never lived in this world for an extended period of time, you don't really understand that, right? And of course, how should you? I'm sure you all have similar situations when you talk with some friends who are not in this world. They don't get it, right? They think you're living this cushy life, like you always do what you want. And to an extent, that's true. But maybe, maybe we don't have health insurance instead, right? Maybe we have whatever it is. So I think this would be an interesting kind of deep dive for another day. I'm already diving too deep. But like, really, who do you have to be an entrepreneur? How do you figure that out, right? Are you an entrepreneur or not? And are there ways you can test that before taking the leap? Or is it just you have to do it? I don't know, maybe that's, if one of you has a thought on that. Because I think, from me personally, I think I just had to do it. It was scary, and then you did it, and you're like, oh, this is not really all that different, right? Like, I'll figure it out from here. It's not super steady income from here, but I'll always figure out a way to make some money. But that's a personality, right? Like, not everyone is as easygoing as that. I don't have kids, for example. I can do that a little bit easier. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I feel like it's definitely a thing that people have to try, probably from what I've seen so far. I mean, it definitely was for me because a lot of people in my family also self-employed, and they were, when I told them I'm gonna make a software agency like 6 years ago, I was like, I'm gonna create my own company. And they were all like, are you sure? It's a lot of work, it sounds better than it is. And honestly, their feedback didn't even mean much to me. Like, I didn't really know what to do with that because I couldn't imagine exactly what they talk about. I also felt like, well, every job is a lot of work. But from doing it, I figured out I do actually enjoy it. But I couldn't have envisioned what it is exactly beforehand. And I've also worked with a lot of other startups where in I wasn't. I mean, you can judge, as an agency. You can also judge probably if that client is going to be a good client or a bad client to work with, if they're or if they will take advice or not. But I've sometimes been really surprised by people that like even come from the enterprise world where structures are different, like the whole work is different, and they turned out to be really on the ball and going with iterations and become good at entrepreneurship. But they're progressing. um and others, like it's I feel like they have to all find out for themselves, so if it fits. But I think people usually do, as soon as they have to start build some, or as soon as they build something, and as soon as they get like their first rejections as well, if they get there. I think a lot of them figure it out because they don't manage to build something. Like they just don't see it through, and they just do this endless programming, endless, like, oh, let's just change this, let's just change that. 2 years later, nothing is released, even though they've been working on it the whole time. And I think that's actually where I think most people figure out that they don't want to be entrepreneurs. Not actually. I think if people get past that, it's like addiction to iterations or something.
That I completely agree with. It's the just one more feature is what it needs before it becomes the product. If you build it, they will come. And uh, yeah, it's not when you're working only on the product, you don't work on your marketing, you don't work on your. I mean, I sit here from a point of view that I haven't even got a homepage for my products that I'm building, but I can confidently say that I have focused on marketing, and it sort of works. It's just unconventional. Um, just going back, like entrepreneurs, people who want to become an entrepreneur but never really become an entrepreneur, and all those things. I think entrepreneur is quite a wide spectrum. You've got your tech entrepreneurs, but you've also got um, your entrepreneurs who can go raise money and build businesses and things like that. I think the disciplines and the mindset is quite different between the two. Having worked for different kinds of entrepreneurs, I can see that difference. Some of it is really, if I'm honest, it can, from my opinion, it comes down to, are you risk adverse? So, are you someone who will dive right in and figure it out, or are you someone who has to be very calculated and get everything, all the systems in place, and maybe do a more slower transition into your entrepreneurship journey? And I'm probably more on the risk averse side. Uh, than anything else. That's why I haven't quit my job, and why I'm not going raising money for Flotelic and trying to do all of that, because um, I kind of have this um, passion to want to prove that it works maybe slightly the hard way, in a way, where you're doing it on top of everything else. Um, just to add, I do think there's two classifications of entrepreneurs. There's those who are so thick-skinned, so determined to win at all costs. The hustlers, where they can go out there and they can make things happen, right? And they can get the right people on board, they can get the right business deals going, um, and they can strike lucky and get the thing working. And then you've got the other entrepreneurs who maybe this may be disingenuous what I'm going to say, but maybe start with a why as to what they want to build. Those who are really passionate about creating the thing and have more of a growth mindset where they go and find the skills, albeit out their comfort zone, to figure it out. And I think some people have to really push themselves out their comfort zone. When you take those who are traditionally in jobs where they get a lot of the security of other people bringing in the business or other people managing the projects and keeping that stability where you don't really have to deal with all of it. For those people to suddenly go out and run their own business and have to find the work, have to do the accounts, have to manage all the compliance and all the stuff that goes with it that you don't often think about. I think the ones who succeed are either, the ones who are hustlers or the ones with a growth mindset where they'll figure it out. But the ones who fail are the ones who just want the idea of it, but don't actually recognize that it requires a change in themselves to do it. So that's my take on it.
But Martin, you say that you haven't brought out the product, but I mean you're totally putting yourself out there, right? You create content, so I would classify you as an entrepreneur already. So yeah.
I agree with that. I think what Ray is saying is very true, right? Like Flowtelic is you and you are Flowtelic, and everything you're doing is a part of that, right? Like you might not have the perfect answer for how you want to take it over the next 12, 18, 24 months, even for yourself. But I think it's not just a SaaS product, right? Like I think it's more for you, certainly. And that's not the goal, right? So there is that difference. And I mean, if YouTube tell us anything, that you can be an entrepreneur without a product, you are the product, right? Like on YouTube or whatever you create at the very least. Well, amazing. So we're coming up on an hour. Any last parting words? Actually, I do have one question before we go to parting words. Like I asked last time at the end of last meeting, do you guys want to schedule another one of those? We keep losing people every month or every check-in, so maybe next time with just 3, or maybe if we get the other 2 back, I'm not sure. But I'm always up for it. I think these sessions are extremely fun, and I like hanging out with you guys. So
90 days, October.
Awesome. I'll get it on the books.
Awesome.
Great. It's been fantastic. Thanks for keeping this up, son.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. And thanks to everyone who was extremely engaged today on our comment section. I love it. I have a feeling those are some of these Flowtelic hardcore fans, maybe.
I can't see the YouTube because I'm through the screen. How many people are watching?
Currently 2. But we probably have like 30 comments, so hey.
Oh, interesting.
Thank you to our fans, both of you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys.
Yep.
I will see you in 90 days.
Bye.
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 Bye.